Mr. Anthony Joshua! The man of the moment is here, and he's a big bloke as well. 6'6", Anthony Joshua in the house, ladies and gentlemen. One more time, Anthony Joshua! Is here one more time. I know I've asked a lot of you. It's Anthony Joshua, ladies and gentlemen. AJ, you're in Dubai. You're at Expo 2020 Dubai.
Amazing. How is everyone today? Good?
Good.
That's what we like. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here as well.
You're looking great. That smile of yours, the $1 million smile. What have you made of Expo? This is pretty impressive, right?
Phenomenal. In the time frame that it's been done, the regulations that have been put in place to make sure everyone's safe, especially with COVID and stuff. I feel safe, I feel comfortable, and I'm happy to be here. I need to see the full experience. I'm yet to see the full experience. I'm coming back tomorrow again, and I'll give you a private update on how that goes.
Good, okay. What about this reception, AJ? I mean, listen, you're popular, I know, wherever you go, but to see a couple of thousand people here for you today.
Yes, people, I hope you're well. It was good, coming up from the ground. I felt like I was coming up for a fight, maybe one day. But it was a lovely reception, DJ's good, crowd's good, weather's nice.
Could be
no stress at all, everything's perfect.
You are Mr. Relaxed, and listen, we've got loads of questions for you over the course of the next 15-20 minutes. I've already been talking to Sean about you, and it's mutual, right? You're a big fan of Sean, you've known Sean for a while?
Yes, correct. We've had some few conversations, and now we're going to link up now and ask some questions together and just talk everything sports.
Well, listen, the motto here at Expo 2020 is connecting minds, creating the future. And I want to start there because the future for boxing, Anthony, I mean, you're in it, you live it, you breathe it. What is the next 5-10 years looking like for boxing?
For boxing as a whole sport?
As a whole.
I don't know.
You back on top?
I don't know what's going to happen. Boxing, it's tough. It's very, very, very tough. So, okay, I believe that sooner or later there's going to be like either a Mike Tyson type of fighter to come through who takes boxing by storm, or like a Muhammad Ali type of fighter that takes boxing by storm. And I'm now 32, so maybe that child's been born and they're growing and they're going to find their way into boxing. I just think that there's going to be someone that's going to grow and come and take boxing by the storm and just kind of inspire everyone to a whole nother level, because great people are always born.
You're not wrong, and Sean, you're about to embarrass this man because you live and breathe it from a UFC perspective. You know the fight game, let's be frank about it. What does
competing at the very highest level, and they're both training so hard, the difference between winning and losing can often be, you know, that resilience and that willingness to overcome a bit of adversity and, like, you know, bite down on the mouth guard and overcome a tough situation, and that can be the difference between a winner or a loss.
Let's talk, if we can, Anthony, about your upbringing. I know we've spoken in the past about it. Sacrifices were made by your family, sacrifices made by yourself as well. How important has that been on your journey to the top of your chosen profession?
So talking about sacrifices, I feel I definitely make sacrifices, but all the sacrifices are at my own will. You know, no one's telling me to do anything I don't want to do, because I'll be living their dream. I've got to want to do it myself. So luckily, I feel the discipline and all that type of boring stuff, discipline, focus, is based upon my own decisions. So I don't see it as a sacrifice sometimes. I just see it as something that needs to be done. And I feel like, you know, God's blessed me, and I've just used this position when I found boxing to its best capability. And it's just a blessing. No sacrifice, no issues. It's a blessing. I love it. It's no stress at all for me.
What about the future? We've talked a little bit about boxing, and you've said that you feel that there is perhaps a Muhammad Ali, another Mike Tyson. What about you? How does 2022 look for Anthony Joshua?
2022, so I've been boxing now since I started boxing at 18 years old, and I had my first fight when I was 19 years old. And then it's just been kind of elite level since then. Like my face, my body's been beaten up. I've been in tough fights back to back. And I'm a loyal character. I believe loyalty is important. So I've been based in Sheffield, and I had a good chat with my coach, and You know, I want to try some new things. I want to try a new environment. Maybe I can do a training camp in Dubai. Maybe I can do a training camp in Africa, in America. Just a new environment to get inspired again and to take the heavyweight division by storm. So that's what 2022 holds for me, is revamping, reorganizing, new environment, and staying at the top, because I think you guys asked, what does it take to get to the top? That's the easy part. Staying there, yeah? That's the hustle. So staying there now is a whole nother category. And we're not talking about staying there for a year or two. If you want to stay there for 5 years, 10 years, it takes a lot of that's when the sacrifice happens and stuff like that. So now is probably the time in my career where when I get back home, I've got to put in some real work and make sacrifices. But it's all good. I feel like everything will make sense in the long run. So as it stands now, new environment, work with some good coaches, and just go to war and win. It's a warrior's mindset.
We've all seen you on the helipad at the Burj Al Arab.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was incredible. I remember we spoke, I think the following day after that, and we spoke then about your dream of one day fighting here in Dubai. You've been to Saudi Arabia, you've been to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Realistically, AJ, do you see a fight, you in Dubai, in the distant future?
Why not? Does everyone love boxing?
Yeah, you do.
You know, it's the people that want to come out and see a fight. So for me, I always like to bring through like the next generation as well. So a boxing match, I never kind of take full credit for myself. We make sure we put on a spectacle. So we give people a good undercard, and the undercard is based on, maybe we offer people 10 fights that evening. Maybe it could be all heavyweights, all big power punches, because the fans love knockouts and stuff like that. So a fight in Dubai will be spectacle, will be spectacular, but it won't just be about me. We'll make sure that we put on an amazing event. Like even a boxing ring in here, anything like that. Boxing's a sport I love because you don't need much. A good coach, pair of trainers, boxing glove. When I first turned professional, I was training in my promoter's back garden. We didn't have a gym. And that was the hustle, and that's what I love about boxing. So boxing can be done anywhere, it's just how big you want to scale it.
Sean, I think AJ's touched on something interesting about changing your environment in order to keep the juices flowing, in order to keep yourself hustling and hungry. How important is that? How difficult is that as you as a coach to say to a fighter, we might need to mix this up in order to keep you at the very top?
Yeah, I think obviously it's a really good thing what you said, that change is obviously a good thing, and change is often linked with innovation, and there can be no innovation without a little bit of change. So I think it's extremely important to be trying to keep things fresh. I think that comes back down to the athlete and the fighter, and the only way that really works is if they've got that little willingness to be a little bit humble and to take on board a little bit of feedback and look to make those changes. And it's actually harder than what it sounds like, because you've got to understand that these guys that are competing on the world stage in combat sports, they've got to have that mentality that they can go out there in a ring or a cage and beat any man in the world. So when I ask them to make sure they have that humble mindset and take on board a little bit of criticism and come down a few pegs, it can often be difficult, but the results speak for themselves. Nothing's going to change unless you've got that willingness to go out there and try a few little tips and tricks. And it says a lot about Anthony, the fact that he's at the very top, but he's still looking to add tools to his belt and change things up a little bit.
A lot of parents with their kids in this afternoon, AJ. Your biggest influence in your career, your fight career, who springs to mind?
Biggest influence?
Yeah.
Someone asked me this the other day, and I feel like because of my sport and the way the world is now, I connect with people that I've never met before, online, different apps and stuff like that. So I feel, honestly, I hear so many inspirational stories from different people. So my biggest inspiration doesn't have to be like some big celebrity. It can be anyone. And as I said, I take inspiration from everyone I meet. And how I am, I don't lock myself away in like some the cleaner, the person who helps me park the car, and I listen about their story, how they got here, why they're working. It keeps me motivated. Everyone's on a hustle to help their family and stuff like that, and that's motivation in itself for me, so that's inspiration.
What about a sliding doors moment, the moment that your life changed for the better, AJ? If I felt sweeter in the journey of Anthony Joshua.
Do you know what it is? When you're on the journey, you don't really have time to stop off and think, oh, that was nice, because the world feels like it's moving so quick that if I kind of jump off to think about how nice that was, I'm going to miss the next opportunity. So maybe when I retire in the far future from fighting, yeah, and I sit back, clicking my toes in front of the fireplace, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be able to answer that. But right now, we haven't got time to think about what was in the past. We're just thinking about where we're going.
It's moving forward. Now, health and wellness, again, two important aspects. This week here at Expo, we're celebrating both of those. And I just wonder, from two athletes as you are, give us a couple of tips, if you can. And I'll start with you, Sean. Health and wellness, a lot of people here. What would you say to people who are perhaps start of a new year, New Year's resolutions? What should they be doing in order to feel that little bit lighter in their feet?
Yeah, I think it comes back to just making small changes. I think we're all very guilty, especially when it comes to the new year and new celebrations, that we want to try and, get things fast results, rapid detoxes, 7 days, 10 days. It's the world we live in today. I think the best thing is just trying to maintain a little bit of balance and just make small changes in your life for the better. I always say to, my athletes, when you're looking at something, weigh up the pros and the cons. So, when you're going to do something, you need to weigh up, like, how beneficial is it going to be and what are the consequences of it? And then at least you can make informed decisions then. Instead of someone, ultimately, especially when you're dealing with grown men, they're going to decide what they want to do. You're not going to be able to force anyone to do anything. But if they've been able to sit there and make an informed decision, then at least that's on them. So, yeah, I'd be saying just to try and maintain a little bit of balance and just to look to make small changes that can be sustainable long term rather than look for quick fixes.
I love that. It's good advice, sound advice. AJ, for you, again, probably a difficult one for you to answer. There's been a lot of lessons that you've had throughout your life. For a lot of kids here, what's been the biggest lesson in the fight game that you've come away from and thought, you know what, that's going to stand me in good stead long after I've hung up the boxing gloves, and you're going to go forward in life with that lesson? I'm getting profound on you now.
Sorry?
I'm getting profound, philosophical with you.
Nah, I don't like to be too philosophical because I end up not making sense. So keep it simple. I believe, be true to yourself, like your authentic self, because we meet so many different people, we go into so many different rooms, workplaces for our career. You go see your auntie, your uncle, your grandma, granddad, mom, brothers, and sometimes you feel you have to be one way for this person. When you're with your mom, you have to be a certain way. When you're with your friends, it's best just to be true to who you are. And I feel when you can be true to who you are, you walk with your chest out, because you know yourself, and you can make decisions based on who you are, not what's going to please everybody else. So that's the decision I would make, and I'll tell someone is look at yourself, figure out who you are, not just your name, but who is that person that's representing the name. Like Anthony Joshua, that's the name, but I have to ask myself, who's the person that represents that name? What do I stand for? And it helps me become like a stronger person, not physically, but mentally.
We've spoken in the past as well, Anthony, about your upbringing. I go back to it, and you said there was a chance that you would take one road. You chose the road that has taken you here today. For any young kids watching this at home, here in the audience today, what would you say to them who have a choice? There's one path, and there's a path that perhaps wouldn't be advisable to go down, because that was the option for you. You've spoken candidly about that. What's your advice to them?
To the young kids that are going down different paths in life, I would say, but probably two things, and they're not going to be like the solution, because